delete key. A real writer knows when to hit the delete key. Yeah, I still made that really hard on myself, didn't I? Delete, delete, delete. That's a hard word to say. I want to talk a little bit about my book, The Kitchen Dance, without going into a lot of great detail. I want to talk about what was happening in the publishing industry whenever I was publishing. At this time, it was relatively new to the whole self-publishing thing. It was still kind of frowned upon. So I was going to all these classes and all these workshops and all these conventions and all, where it was still like, self-published kind of thing. You're self-published. If you wanted to be published by one of the big houses, then you needed to have some kind of reputation. You had to come in with something. And actually I went to RWA convention in San Antonio, and at that one, such a long story, so much to talk about. I don't want this to be a long video, but I have a lot to say. I'll just bring it up more and more over the years. But at that time, I had already published my book, and I learned so much more by actually going to some of these conventions, so I encourage you to do so. And at the time, the Outlander series was just coming out, and everybody's in love with the Outlander series. And the big thing, you kind of have to go to one of these conventions and hear what everybody's talking about, you know. It was all about time travel, like, oh, must write a book on time travel. And the other thing was writing a series in 3 parts or whatever, because you want to keep selling that book and selling that book at least 3 times. So that was another thing they were looking for. So I went in without that, but I did have some good ideas. I did have a book that was written, and I call it written. I didn't think it was finished. I think there's so much more I could say. I'd basically taken a screenplay I wrote years before and moved it into the, book form, and had been working on it. And I felt like, since I had all that extra words now that I can use versus being limited to a screenplay, that I could add so much more to the story. So I had to kind of had that in my bag to kind of talk about. And I also had some other ideas for books. So you had a part where you could interview with not necessarily a publisher, like I guess the editors. You could interview with editors, and you could interview with agents as well. So I participated in those, and I learned a little trick. So I was with this wonderful writer who is from Canada, and I'll link her name below. And so we were hanging out together, and she tells me, hey, if we just stick around, we can, because they need more people to come to these interviews. I don't want to have their people sitting there waiting for somebody, so we can just go in and fill in. So if nobody shows up, we'll just jump in. So we did. We stayed there for like a couple of hours. Just anytime there was an opening, we would just jump in their place. And so I got to talk to more than one. I got to talk to maybe 5 editors, like so many editors, so many agents, and got a pretty good feel of the industry. And in fact, one time, when I was talking to one of the, I think it was an agent, and their next person didn't have anybody for the next person, so they just said, well, you can just stay, because nobody's in line. Come on, stay. So we just talked, and I learned a lot from that. And it kind of makes you go back and go, well, I wish I'd known this before I published my first book. So I was talking to this agent, and got to know more about the industry and what they were looking for, and she had some really good recommendations, and one of which was to start a blog. And if you start doing that, and on a consistent basis, an agent would come along and say, hey, they've been doing this for a year, and they're consistent, and they've got this following, and yeah, I want to look at this person's work. And sometimes they may look at if a blog is pertaining to something that's not related to what you're writing, that's not really going to help you. You've got to kind of write along what you're writing about. And in my case, The Kitchen Dance is women's fiction, so I would have to write, a blog that kind of pertained to that, but not necessarily what's in my book, but just something more like doing reviews on books that are women's fiction, stuff like that, and writing what you like about them. And short stories, putting little short stories in will definitely help your blog if you every now and then you had like some of your shorts in there. And so you're giving away, you have to give away a lot of stuff. So let me just say it this way: you got to have money or not be in need of money if you want to be a writer, because it's going to cost you. And a lot of the expense comes down to, you would want an editor. They were like beating this into us at the RWA. They were saying, get an editor. We don't want to look at something that is not clean. And so you had to have it edited, and that can be very expensive. Editors make good money. If you want to make some money, do some editing on the side, because not only will that help you if by seeing what they're doing wrong, it would kind of help you say, hey, I didn't like how this story went at all. What could I do better when I'm writing my story? So anyway, so I put my little thing together and insert photo here. So I have this little table. This is like my go-to table. One of the things I feel like I need to tell you is, even if you publish with a big publishing house, you're still got some work ahead of you. They expect you to sit with your books, sign your books, and promote your stuff. So you're going to do it anyway. So one of the things I always kept handy was a basket that has my tablecloth, my little lace cover, and all my like business stuff, like my receipts and everything were in here. Pens that you enjoy writing with that make, you know, you have certain pens that are really good to write with. Yeah, find a pen that you like to write with. If you have a Mont Blanc, good for you. Me, I just got Bic because that's what I could get. I do have your money for your change and lots of business cards for people to pick up. And I also gave these away, something to remind people to order the digital copy off of Amazon at the time. And where a business card, they made like a business card, but this was something big and bulky, and they went, oh, they went through a lot of trouble to print this. I should maybe check it out. So hopefully that would work. But anyway, I want to read this to you, what it says on the back. Jewel Dalton, a successful interior designer, lived her life choreographed by her loved ones until tragedy forces her to learn her own steps. Alan Brooks has endured his own share of manipulations, and all his hard work and sacrifices left him with nothing. He wears his troubles like the too large overcoat he picked up at a mission while living on the streets. This coat brings them together in an unexpected way. Jewel takes the misfortunate Alan into her home in hopes of turning his life around. She gives him a place to live, a job, even introduces him to her wealthy friends. What she does not give him is her trust. This he must earn. The two combine their dreams and create a wonderful relationship. Then Alan gets a call that will challenge his sense of responsibility. He makes a choice, one that Jewel cannot begrudge. Alan struggles with his decision while Jewel goes back to her old life until they both realize what they really want. Also, one of the things at the RWA meeting I noticed we talked about, it came up in a lot of the little seminars I went to, but actually sitting and talking to this agent, was they don't just come up to you with a check anymore and they go, I really want to publish your book. They want to maybe get you in there, you know, like, well, we'll publish, but, you know, let's just don't want to take a risk on you, in other words. And then there was a lot of information about getting a check up front. That you get that check up front, you owe it to them now. You just sold your soul because you're going to work for that money, and they expect you to, you know, have. You always hear the movies where the person says, "Oh, I got a deadline to meet, and I haven't met my deadline." Well, yeah, that's what they expect from you, and if you can't do it, you'll have to pay it back, kind of story. So so that gets kind of tricky. But yeah, they expect you to work for this. This is not for free. They're not. Yeah, they want to make money off of you, but they definitely expect you to do a lot of the work. So you will have to go to the book signings and things like that to help promote your books. Even as an author of a small publishing house, yeah, you got to put the time in on your own. So going with a publisher or self-publishing, this is where you find you're doing just as much work, even though someone published your book for you. And that's something to think about. And so what I did when I had my book, I did go to a small publishing house called Melange Books, and I went to and which was good because they did do my editing and everything for that for me. There was no upfront costs. I mean, they were called a boutique, more of a boutique publishing company, and that they took certain things and I think even now that they maybe haven't checked with their website lately, but it's below, and so check it out. If they've like tightened up what they take these days as far as what they publish. Anyway, I'm getting kind of tired, but Yeah, so I had to set up this cute little table setup. I had to have it ready because you never know when a good opportunity to sell a book will come up. And one of the places that I went would be Farmers Market's a good place. There would be things at the library you could sign up for. So you start kind of getting plugged in different areas where you can go and you can display your books and you can sell some books. So I did sell a lot, but not nearly as many as I bought. So when I got published, I waited for them to have a really good deal. So that when the company that does the printing was having a special, I jumped on it and I ordered the best price break for the minimum of amount of, I think I ordered 300 books. So I think I'm down to like 200 and a few. I don't know. So I had probably like 220, 225 books left because see, I really didn't do a lot. I didn't do enough. I kind of quit doing it after a while, but this is where it got weird. When I got my rights back, I mean, not that it mattered. It's my books. I bought them. I can get all my money, you know, here now that I own these books. But I thought when I got my rights back, I would do more to, like, you know, put them on Amazon and to do something. But I tried doing that for a while and I ended up, nothing was selling. So, and Amazon was a big chunk out of it. So I got out of selling on Amazon and just put it on my eBay store and just kind of kept it there. But I do sell autographed copies. Now, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate it so much that I'm doing a giveaway. So here's the giveaway. I'm giving away 10 digital copies of The Kitchen Dance to the next 10 people who requested in the comments below. So please let me know if you want a copy. It's the version where even though I went through an editor, yeah, there's still some mistakes. I know, isn't that something? Yeah, there are. So, hey, let me know. Because I know I've read over and like, oh, there's a mistake, there's a mistake. Yeah, you're getting the actual copy that was published. So, anyway, hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget the delete key because a real writer knows when to hit the delete key.